Welcome to Adulting 101. My name is Evan Branken, and this
is Dennis Bear. I am a tax professional. I'm an annual filing season participant and an ERO, which is electronic return originator.
If you have received any income during the year, you're required to file for taxes. What is the level at the federal level for requiring taxes, Dennis?
That would be $12,400 for the 2020 tax year, but those laws and amounts do change on a yearly basis.
What is the date of the year that you have to turn your taxes in?
So taxes have to be prepared by April 15th, and if you don't get them done in time, there is a penalty and another penalty for late filing and for failure to pay on time.
Now, is it the same date for federal and for state?
No, the state of Iowa is actually April 30th, so you want to allow yourself plenty of time. You can get your taxes done and be ready to go on February 15th, but you owe $200. Well, you got 2 months to get that money budgeted into your budget to make sure you pay it on time. In case you're missing something, that will give you time to get it. The tax preparers get very, very busy during this season.
Sure.
And so you may get them everything, but it may be a couple weeks before they can get to your returns. All the reporting authorities, which would be your banks, your employer, and such, will mail you everything. They are required to be mailed by January 31st. Sometimes, though, if you're getting your pay stubs, say, online, they will email you those documents. If you're under age 19 and your parents can still claim you, or if you're under age 24 and in college. Now, the key to that is if your parents are providing over half your support.
If you're still dependent on your parents, you're under the age of 24, and you're in school, does that mean you don't have to file your own taxes?
So your income would not be included on your parents. You will actually file your own return. And for instance, your wages were $7,000, and you had withholding of $700. Because you're below that standard deduction amount, you would be entitled to a full refund of that $700. So you should always look into filing taxes or see what the amounts are.
Always make sure you get your money back. Good advice.
So there's many different ways to prepare your taxes. You can use a tax professional, and that's what I recommend because they're always the most current on the laws. There's also many different tax softwares. There's also free tax programs that are listed on the IRS website. Now, those are the ones you want to use because there are some people out there looking to steal information.
So start with irs.gov.
Start with irs.gov. Very safe place.
Are there free options for the state side?
Yes, there are. And that's why you would go to the Iowa Department of Revenue if you're an Iowa resident. And they also have some programs right on their website that you can use. Print out a copy because you will need it for future reference, for student loans, for banks.
How do you fill it out?
So it will ask you if you had a job. And when
Yes.
you reply yes, the W-2 will come up. And you actually just take the numbers from the W-2 and you plug it in directly to the screen.
So it does the math and it fills it out for you.
Yes, it does.
You just have to plug in the numbers.
They are very user-friendly. You may really want to consider the tax professional and a little bit of tax planning and stuff so that you do get the most out of everything. Many times the tax professional will pay for himself with the additional credits that you will receive with his knowledge.
So speaking of the tax professionals, I mean, obviously I think we all know of H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, the big box places, right? What can you tell us about them? What's the difference between what they do and what you do?
Well, I can tell you that the big box stores charge a lot more. You can actually go to the irs.gov website and you can look up tax preparers and type in your zip code and it will give you a list of everybody who is authorized to complete taxes.
So it's really important you find someone who actually knows what they're doing and there's actually legal requirements for them to file.
Yes, there are.
I have heard that if you do use a licensed tax professional and there's an error on your tax return, that you are not the one who's held responsible for that. Is that true?
Well, that is true, but that is not true. Most of us have liability insurance, and we will cover the interest or any penalties assessed by the IRS as long as we were given the information and it was an error that we created. Now, you are still responsible for the original amount of tax.
So let's take a look at the forms. You've mentioned several forms, and we're actually going to show them on the screen.
Your W-2. Now, your employer will be sending that out, and if you had multiple employers throughout the year, you will receive multiple W-2s. Another one would be the 1099 INT. The INT would stand for interest. you would receive that from your financial institutions. Another one may be the 1099 DIV, which is for dividends. Those would come from your investments. Now, they do not mail those out if it's less than $10. Another one that you could possibly receive would be the 1099 miscellaneous, the 1099 NEC, which is non-employee compensation. Another one for college students, it's a very big credit, would be the 1098T. And that is for tuition. And that is going to report your tuition in box 1. And then it's in box 5 is going to show you your scholarships and grants you received. And you have to be at least a half-time student to qualify for those education credits.
Is there a special form for that?
8863. And so it's subject to income limitations. As your income rises, you'll lose the opportunity to be able to claim those education credits. That American Opportunity Credit is a refundable and non-refundable credit. What that means is some of it will just come off of your income before we figure out your tax, and a portion of it will actually become a refundable, such as a withholding from your paychecks. Now, if your income's low enough, it is very important that you let your parents claim you if they're eligible to do so.
Why?
Your income may be too low, so you may lose a lot of that. Some of the forms you may have to fill out would be the 1040. The 1040 is the standard catch-all for everything. The top section is just going to be your personal information. Below that, you're going to find a box that says, can someone claim you as a dependent? Now, this is where you need to talk with your parents, and you'll want to find out, are they claiming you as a dependent? Now, after that, we're going to go into your income. The first line is going to show your wages, then you're going to have your interest and your dividends and such. So there's many different schedules and forms that will be reported on that 1040. One of them would be Schedule 1, which will include other various items of income. It will also have some adjustments to your income on that. Educators, well, they get a $250 credit each year for the materials they have to buy for their classrooms. Even though it's probably a lot more than that, the government does give them $250.
It's definitely a lot more than that. I know some teachers. There's a special deduction for student loans, isn't there?
Yes, and you would find that on the Schedule 1. So that then is going to give us our adjusted gross income. Now, after our adjusted gross income's figured out, we're going to take our standard deduction. After that, we're going to come up with that magic taxable income figure. You have so much income in the 10% bracket, and then you go to the 12, then you go to the 15, and all the way up to 37%. On the second page, we're actually going to come up with your tax. Now, the program will automatically calculate that for you, but if you're doing it manually, you will have to go to the chart, because it's not a direct percentage, so they go in $50 increments. Now, if you file electronically, your refund will be 10 to 14 days. The IRS does say allow 14 to 21 days because they like to give that little buffer in there.
Sure. You mentioned audits before, and I feel like that's a word that many young people we hear, but we kind of live in dread of it. It's the dreaded IRS audit. What does that actually mean? What does it entail?
So, when you get audited, what they're doing is they're reviewing what you have reported. Now, if the IRS owes you an additional refund of $100, you'll never hear a word. But if you owe them an additional $100, they're coming.
Right.
Now, your chances of being audited if you use a tax professional are much lower. I also recommend that you save your tax returns for a minimum of 5 years. It's best to save them forever because one of the other taxes that's reported on your W-2 is your Social Security tax.
I don't anticipate having anything left in Social Security by the time I'm old enough to claim it anyway. One last question, I think. You said that we should just take the standard deduction. Is there any situation where a young adult might want to itemize deductions?
99% of the returns I filed in 2020 use the standard deduction. The tax laws are ever evolving and changing, and the standard deduction could go down to $6,000 next year, and many more people will itemize them. But getting to that 12.4 mark is pretty hard, and there's limitations on some of that income.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Evan, for having me.
Thanks for watching. This has been another video in our Adulting 101 series. If you enjoyed it, please hit like, subscribe, click the bell so you're notified when we release new content. We'll be doing more videos in this series on a variety of topics, but if there's something you really want to hear about, feel free to let us know and we'll try and make a video just for you. Thanks, God bless, and have a great one.